What's up everyone, and thank you for stopping by the channel. Today's project is this Honda lawnmower, and the problem is that it was running poorly, but now I can't even get it to start. Let's take a good look at it, find out what's wrong with it, and hopefully we can fix it. In this video, we try and repair this mower. However, it may not be the exact repair that you need to make to yours. We'll explore other options later in the video. So this Honda mower was purchased at the beginning of the season, and it ran very well up until the end of it, so only a few months. It started to run poorly, and now I can't even get it to start. I'm going to try and start it so you can see if your mower is behaving the same way, but before I do that, it's always a good idea to check to make sure there's plenty of oil in it. To check the oil in this engine, remove the dipstick and clean off the old oil, then replace the dipstick, but don't screw it in, just place it against the threads, and then remove it and see how much oil is on it. So our first major problem is that there's not enough oil in the engine. That means there's going to be some engine damage due to the lack of lubrication. I'm going to put some oil in it and then we'll try starting it. Well, it didn't even try and start, so now I want to make sure that the engine still runs. I'm going to remove the filter and put some gas into the carburetor and try starting it. This is our second problem. The air filter is completely packed with dirt, and this would cause the engine to run rich with fuel and could possibly foul the spark plug and make the engine run poorly or not at all. Now, the engine still ran on the gas that I physically put into the carburetor. That means that the spark plug isn't fouled. However, I still want to inspect its condition. Now, I've never heard of this brand before, so it's definitely a generic plug. I might replace it later on if I still can't get it started. Now, the part that I want to look at is just the tip, and it's very dark in color, which isn't normal. It's not fouled with carbon, so it should still work, so that's not the reason why this engine isn't starting. Since I'm here, I'm going to use a compression tester to see how worn out the engine is. Now, you can buy these online for several dollars, and I want to see a number around 100 psi, but nothing less than 50. Just thread it into the spark plug hole and pull the rope a couple of times. So my gauge is a bit off, but the reading is around 50 psi. This tells me that the lack of oil has definitely taken a toll on this engine. Now, there's still plenty of life left in the engine, so it can still be very useful. The next step is to shut off the fuel valve and remove the carburetor. I want to inspect it for any problems like a sticking needle or a clogged fuel jet. This is kind of interesting. It looks like the emissions hose wasn't hooked up, so the engine's been sucking in unfiltered air. Now, this might have damaged the engine, of course, along with the lack of oil. Now, this part is the auto choke, and it's also part of the insulator, which sits between the engine and the carburetor. Now, this part here is the thermostat, and it works the choke flap. This system is very simple and compact versus the other systems I've seen before. I'm going to take this opportunity to drain some of the gas to see if there's anything wrong with it. What I can say is that it smells like fresh gasoline. However, what I see is a bit strange. It's kind of cloudy, and unfortunately what that means is it's contaminated. If you give it a minute to settle, you can see a separation of gas on top of a layer of water. You can also see the water if you pour it onto the wood. The gas soaks into the wood, but when the water hits the wood, it'll sheet off. Now that I know that there's water in the tank, I'm going to need to drain it. I'm going to use a larger hose so it drains a little bit faster. There wasn't that much water in the tank since most of it made its way to the carburetor already. Now, the reason there's water in the gas is because, unfortunately, this is ethanol-enriched gasoline. Now, to avoid this problem, never pour the last bit of gasoline from your gas can into your fuel tank. Now, what you do with the leftover gas, I'll leave that up to you. I'm also going to use this opportunity to inspect the carburetor, even though I'm pretty sure there isn't anything wrong with it. So here's the jet, and as you can see, it's not clogged, but I'm still going to run a wire through it to clean any sort of buildup. After that, I'll put the carburetor back together and then install it back onto the engine. Another reason why your mower might not be starting is that the auto choke system has completely failed. If the thermostat gets stuck in the no choke position, then the engine won't get enough fuel to start and run. Now to test that, try starting the engine with starting fluid, and if it runs and restarts when it's hot, but it doesn't when it's cold, then inspect the auto choke system for a problem. The only thing I hate about this engine is that it doesn't use studs to hold the carburetor onto the engine. It uses long bolts. Now that can make putting the carburetor and air filter base back onto the engine very difficult. Now you could replace the bolts with studs and nuts if you want to make this part much easier, but whenever you want to remove the carburetor, you'll have to remove the studs as well. I'm going to reuse the air filter, but I'm going to try and knock off some of the dirt first. Now you won't believe just how much dirt was hiding in this thing. This is the reason why the spark plug was so dark in color. It causes the engine to pull more fuel from the carburetor than normal. Now these filters are only $5 online, so it's cheap insurance. Otherwise, blow out the filter once or twice a year. I hate to say it, but the engine does have a slight knocking sound coming from the bottom end. It's not bad, but it's not what you want to hear either. This is, of course, from running the engine low on oil. Along with the unfiltered air from the unconnected emissions hose, the rings are also damaged, causing the engine to have less power than it should. Now, the water and the gas can be avoided. You just have to take some precautions. There are additives out there that you can put into the gas to keep it from happening if you can't get 100% gas near you. So you do have some options. So my question is, what should I do with this Honda mower? Now, for the most part, this mower is in excellent condition. However, the most important part, the engine, is showing moderate to serious wear. Should I resell it at a discount because of the wear, or should I just keep using it until it finally breaks? Personally, I would just keep using it because as long as I have fresh oil in it every year and I keep the blades sharp, it should last many years to come. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask any questions, and I hope to see you in my next video.